Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. Well, it's going to be a bit of a different episode today. I'll explain why. I'm in France, been here for a month now, going home tomorrow, and I expected to do lots of riding and show you some more of the French scenery. That really didn't happen because we had this massive heat wave, and I know much of Europe had it, but here it reached 40 degrees. It touched 41 at one point towards the end of the week. That was then followed by thunderstorms, and really it was just too oppressive to go out and do very much. So I've only had a couple of rides. However, I've not wasted the time because I did tell you that I was buying a drone, or looking to buy a drone to enhance the videos, and I did. I bought this little fella. This is the DJI Mini SE. Really small drone, but I wanted a 4K camera ideally. This one has 2.8K, but the reports were, and the videos I looked at online, all suggested that the image is superb. So I've been practicing with this drone. Not lots of space here, nobody to upset, not likely to run into very much with it, and it's gone well. I've been filming at 2.8K at 30 feet per second, and I'll let you judge the results. These are some of the scenic shots from around here, and tell me what you think. Certainly I'm very impressed, and I'm impressed with the stability of it and the ease of flying. Cycling in France is an absolute pleasure. Yesterday I was out, did 2 hours, and in all that time I was only passed by 5 cars. And those passes were excellent. The French drivers do respect cyclists in the main. It coincided with a report that was in the Daily Telegraph about a situation where a cyclist had reported a close pass from a 77-year-old man. That man received a notice of prosecution. He was offered a driver awareness course as opposed to a fine. It would have saved him points and a fine, but he decided not to take that. In fact, I believe from the report that he ignored it. The court then fined him, and I believe it was something like £1,800 total with costs, although reports varied. The thing that was so annoying about this is that the fact that the driver admitted that he had given the cyclist 4 feet of clearance, which is less than the 1.5 metres required. So in fact he'd admitted that he was too close. But the Telegraph article blamed the cyclist and called him a vigilante. It suggests that any cyclist that reports a motorist is a vigilante. So what about drivers that report other drivers with dash cams? Are they vigilantes? Interestingly, I attended a meeting with a very senior police officer who told us that the majority of Operation Snap reports are actually from motorists. So what I plan to do in this video is show you some of my close passes, the ones that I've reported to the police. Where possible, I'll tell you what the penalty is, but the police don't always tell you the exact penalty. Some police forces, Leicestershire for example, will tell you exactly what the penalty was. Lincolnshire don't volunteer the information, but I do ask for an update from them. Most of the footage I'm going to show you was taken with my Chilitech bullet cam, so the quality is low. It's good enough for identification of the number plate and the offence, but in turn you do get 4 hours of footage from it, so it's ideal for the job. The other thing I'll note is that some of the videos have a date on, 2017. Ignore the date, it doesn't mean anything, it's just the default on that camera. I now have it turned off, so there's no date at all. It's no problem for the police, they will accept what you put in the statement. I find that incidents fall into 2 broad categories. There's the close pass that's deliberate, the so-called punishment pass, and then there are those people that are distracted, maybe don't see you, maybe don't realise they're too close. Oddly, I find the punishment pass to be probably the better of the two, and that's because at least that driver has seen me and is trying to make a point. whereas the one that's distracted or hasn't seen me or doesn't understand what sort of distance to leave, I think they're a bit more dangerous. One thing I never do is gesticulate angrily at somebody that's close past. The reason is that a punishment pass, usually that driver wants a reaction and they're not going to get it from me. The one that's close past, then it's no good shouting and getting angry. But what I do is I will point down at my camera. So especially if the punishment passer is looking in the mirror for the reaction, they're going to see me pointing at a camera on my bike. And I hope that they're going to then be watching the post with trepidation for the next month. So in the next few clips, I'm going to show you some examples of both types of pass. And the very last clip is the one that really scared me the most. In this first clip, I was riding with Paul Green of Paul Green Vlog. And I was on the outside. We were riding two abreast quite legally. You'll see from this that the road was plenty wide enough. No problem at all, wasn't any real traffic about. And the driver of this Subaru, I guess, decided we shouldn't be riding two abreast, and he passed us very closely. Lincolnshire police agreed that this was too close, and the driver was given an option of a driver awareness course to avoid points, which is what he took. Now that isn't without cost. That would have cost him around about £90 and a day of his time to take that course. My only issue with driver awareness courses is that there doesn't appear to be a requirement to reach a certain level in a test at the end of the course. And I am aware of some people that don't take it seriously. Now, a friend of mine had to take one of these courses, and he spent quite a bit of time before the course revising the highway code and so on. He took it seriously. So I think really there ought to be some sort of test at the end of the driver awareness course. This next incident took place in Bedfordshire, and you'll see the cars overtaking me before and after the incident were absolutely fine, gave me plenty of room. But the driver of the grey Toyota seemed to just stick with the same line. They would have seen the cars ahead pulling out, but this driver didn't. So I'm guessing there may have been some sort of distraction involved, but they were too close. Bedfordshire police agreed. Although they didn't tell me what the penalty was, I'm guessing that would be a driver awareness course again. Did this driver think they could make it through in time, or didn't they think at all? Either way, Lincolnshire police sent a warning letter. In a previous video, I talked about how cyclists can help themselves by taking the lane and so on. Here is an example of where I could have helped a driver avoid a fine. As you see, I'm coming up under this railway bridge, and because it's uphill and I would be pretty slow, it's quite a rise, I wasn't riding in primary position. I should have been out in the centre of that lane. The next two incidents happened within 20 minutes of each other in Nottinghamshire. The first one, you can see this Peugeot driver overtakes. She's trying to squeeze through before an oncoming car. She's totally misjudged it. She's very close to me, and in fact the oncoming car had to take evasive action, and the lady driver of that car was shaking her head. She couldn't believe how stupid that pass was. This next one occurred 20 minutes later, and even though I was established in my clear lane, the BMW driver decided he was going to overtake the parked cars regardless of me coming towards him. So both of these incidents were reported to Notts Police. I didn't hear anything back, so I chased them and still didn't hear anything back. I contacted the Police and Crime Commissioner, who explained that they couldn't personally do anything, but I could make a professional standards complaint, which I did. That resulted in a senior traffic manager contacted me. This was quite an influential lady who I know has done a lot to improve road safety. She explained that it was down to staffing. She promised me they would take action and they'd reinstate this as soon as possible. Sadly, it was too late for those two reports to be actioned. We were out of time. But I'm pleased to say that looking at the Nottingham Cycle Chat Facebook group, people are now reporting and getting action. So that's really good to hear. Before that, people were saying, oh, just don't bother reporting, it's not worth it. My argument is it is always worth reporting, and if those reports aren't taken seriously, then take some action. And what was this lorry driver thinking? Whatever it was, it earned them a police caution. I'm guessing that the driver admitted the offence and therefore a caution was deemed acceptable. I'll pop in another couple of clips here of close passes without going into detail on what happened, other than to say they were all reported. But I'll end this video on the one that really scared me. This took place a couple of days before Christmas 2021. And I have to say I was wearing high-vis clothing. I got front and rear lights on, the front light was flashing, and I was completely visible. But just watch the silver car starting to emerge from the junction on the right. The driver was clearly looking both ways, looking at the traffic, but clearly didn't see me. You can't see it from this shot, but her bonnet was so close that I had to lean on it to avoid being thrown off. I did actually think, well, you know, it's nearly Christmas. Do I want to do this to somebody? And then I thought, no, actually, it's nearly Christmas and I could have spent Christmas in hospital. And what we don't know when we're reporting these things is what the record is of that driver. It may be that they've had warning letters before, and so really it's up to the police to decide what to do. In this case, the lady obviously admitted what she'd done, but she received the more serious police caution. So if anything like this happens again in the future, I guess they're going to throw the book at her. Reporting incidents is quite easy now. The police do encourage it. There's a portal called Operation Snap. So if you look for Operation Snap, it should come up with a map. It'll show you the different police forces. Click on that. They often have slightly different ways of reporting, but I find in the main it's very, very simple, very straightforward. So I'm wondering if I'm a vigilante, because if I receive a close pass or I witness some really dangerous driving, then I'll report it. It's then up to the police what they do. It's not for me to say. It may be that it was an innocent mistake, in which case the police will take that into account. But it could be that that driver has a history of this sort of thing, and the police may then decide it's time to take action. Whichever way, I don't mind. It's entirely their judgment, not mine. But the point is that I could be saving the life of somebody by doing that. That is the only reason I would do it. It's not for retribution or anything like that. I just hope that maybe they'll learn a lesson and it could save somebody's life. Now, does all this make me a vigilante? I don't think so. But if it does, I don't really care. As far as I'm concerned, let's all get on with our lives and stay safe. But if somebody does put me in danger, then I want the authorities to be aware. And carrying a bullet cam or similar on your bike is a good way of doing it. So thanks very much for joining me. The next time you see me, we'll do some riding, hopefully. I'll be back in the UK. And until then, I'll say goodbye or au revoir.